Hello friends, this is Akshita, your educator. I welcome you all in Teaching Exams by Global Online. As we know friends, Teaching Exams by Global Online has launched a complete series for upcoming CTET examination 2022. In this particular series, we'll be dealing with Mathematics Paper 1. In today's lecture number 9, we will discuss what are the important points to be covered under the topic called mensuration, what are the PYQs that have been asked under the topic mensuration, as well as from where the questions can be asked in this particular topic. Before moving into the video friends, I'd like to tell, if you want to score maximum marks in the examination, plus if you want guaranteed selection in upcoming CTET 2022 examination, so this course of Global Online is going to be very beneficial for you, because the following features will be provided for paper 1 and paper 2 individually. The central teacher eligibility test, which will be held in 2022, for that complete course has been launched. In this, full syllabus theory lectures will be provided, practice multiple MCQs, mock test, full syllabus notes, and the course fees is just of 2000 rupees over here. You just have to go and download the Global Online app and contact us on this given WhatsApp number for enrolling the course. For paper 2, again the same following features have been provided: full syllabus theory lectures, again practice multiple MCQs, mock test, full syllabus notes. The course fees is just of 2000 rupees, and same thing for the paper 1 and paper 2 compiled. For paper 1 and paper 2, the course has been launched, where the same features will be provided in just of fees 3000 rupees. Again here, full syllabus theory lectures, practice multiple MCQs, mock test, full syllabus notes. We just have to go and download Global Online app and contact us on this WhatsApp number for enrolling the course. Now, how to go and download the app, I'll discuss it in short. Go and download the Global Online app from the Play Store. Here you will find an interface where you will find a store icon. Okay, we'll move to the page called courses. Here you will find a search bar. Here a search tab will be seen. Okay, here you have to search for the particular exam which you have to face. Like Global Online is a platform where you find different exam preparations. Like for set also, you will have the coaching for net also. So if you want to prepare for even that exams also, you can go and enroll the course. Okay, now in today's lecture, we will be discussing what is mensuration, what is actually mensuration, and what are the topics that we'll be discussing in the mensuration. Okay, now very first thing I'd like to tell you is mensuration is a topic. Mensuration is a topic where you don't have a need of like large amount of notes and all. Okay, you just have to follow some of the formulas. You must be able to understand some of the diagrams. Okay, that is more than enough over there. Now in mensuration, we will be dealing with actually two kind of diagrams. Okay, one is 2-dimensional and another one is 3-dimensional. Okay, mensuration topic, we have begin with the mensuration topic. In mensuration topic, we will be discussing about the 2D and 3D structures, right? What are the structures in 2D and what are the structures in 3D that we have to discuss? Let us see that. In 2D structures, you have to go through triangle, okay, circle, quadrilateral. Now, what is quadrilateral? In quadrilateral, we find different structures like square, rectangle, parallelogram, and trapezium. Okay, this is all what we find in 2D. In 2D, we'll be discussing about the triangles, circles, quadrilaterals. In quadrilaterals, the structures come is square, rectangle, parallelogram, and trapezium. Okay, now this is all about the 2D structures. Specifically, if we go for the triangle, in triangle also we find different types of triangles like isosceles triangle, scalene triangle, right angle triangle, equilateral triangle. These are the different types of triangle. Once again, if you want, you can note down. Okay, but from triangle and circle, these are the topics where questions have been never asked. Okay, in CTET paper 1, the questions from mensuration about the triangle and circles have never been asked over there. So maximum focus to be given into this structure is all about the quadrilateral. We have to give maximum focus on the quadrilateral. In specifically in quadrilateral, we have to keep our focus on square and rectangle only. Okay, for if we go for paper 1, okay, if you are going for paper 1, you have to just focus on square and rectangle. Triangle and circle is a topic from where questions have never been asked, but you just have to go through it once. If we have to see different types of triangles, then there is scale and triangle, okay, a right angled triangle. This is something you have already learned in your school times, right? But this is all about the gap that has been created in this huge period of time, so we have to bridge it. This is the equilateral triangle and isosceles triangle. So these are the different types of triangle. Just to go through it once: scalar triangle, right angle triangle, equilateral triangle, and isosceles triangle. Now in 2D structure, we have seen there are 3 types of stuff that we have to go through: triangle, circle, and quadrilateral. In quadrilateral, we find different structures like square, rectangle, parallelogram, and trapezium. As I have told you, from triangle and circle, no question has been asked in this previous years. Okay, so we just have to focus on the quadrilateral. Specifically if we go for the paper number 1, if you're preparing for paper number 1, then you just have to focus on the square and rectangle wale questions. Okay, now this is all about the 2D structure. Okay, when we go for the 3D structures, you have to just keep in mind the 3 structures like cube, cuboid, and cylinder. Okay, these are the 3D structures from which you have to keep in mind: cube, cuboid, and cylinder. As I have told you that in case of paper number 1, only square and rectangle from 2D structures have to be prepared mandatorily, because these are the important structures that can be asked in examination. When we go for the paper number 2, okay, when we go for the paper number 2, in quadrilateral, trapezium is very important. Okay, in quadrilateral, for paper 2, trapezium, this is very important, as well as for paper 2, cube, cuboid, and cylinder is again important. So if you're preparing for paper 2, just go through these topics, like seriously, you have to prepare these topics, making it sure that you don't skip these topics from mensuration. Okay, now this is all about the introduction to the mensuration. In mensuration, we will be discussing about the 2 structures, 2D and 3D structures. In 2D structures, we have discussed about the triangle, what are the circles, quadrilateral. In quadrilateral, the shapes that we have to come across is square, rectangle, parallelogram, and trapezium. Okay, specifically if you go for the paper 2, you have to prepare square and rectangle very seriously. Moving on to the next topic of 3D structures, we have to check in about cube, cuboid, and cylinder structures, right? So cube and cuboid is something that can be asked in cube, cuboid, and cylinder. These are the structures that have compulsorily asked in paper number 2. Okay, so if you're preparing for paper number 1, go through square, rectangle, cube, cuboid ones, and if you're going for paper 2, then go for again trapezium, like very seriously. Okay, quadrilaterals actually all are important, but specifically trapezium is a topic from which the question have been asked like compulsorily, right, for paper 2, and in 3D you have to prepare all 3 of them. Now this is all about the introduction. Now moving into the types of the questions and the structures, discussing about the structures actually, let us see what kind of structures have been asked, what type of questions have been asked into the examination. Let us discuss these structures one by one. Very first is what now? Square. Okay, square. Okay, this is the square. Now as we know, in square we have to keep in mind the thing that is there are 4 sides of the squares, right? There are the 4 sides of the squares, and all the sides of the squares are equal. So the first point to be remembered in the square is that all sides of square are equal. These are equal. The very first point Okay, now whenever we find area of the square is equals to 4a. We are finding the area, right? And all the four sides are equal, so we'll taking directly 4a. Okay, this is how we find the area of the square, right? Sorry, perimeter. Sorry, I have made a mistake here. A is square, not 4a. When we are discussing about the perimeter, actually perimeter means what? Perimeter, it means the boundaries. Okay, we are discussing about the side boundaries, right? All the perimeter is all about the sides over here, right? All the sides. So here there are four sides, right? And all are a, so simply we can take 4a. This is all about the square questions that can be asked. The first thing that we have to keep in mind, squares have all sides equal. Whenever we find the area, we will take a square, and for perimeter the formula is 4 into a, because all the four sides are equal, that is 4 into a. Okay. Now whenever we are finding diagonal, now what is a diagonal? This is called the diagonal. This is the diagonal of the square, right? Okay. When we have to find what is the value of diagonal, what is the value of the diagonal? Whenever we have to find the value of diagonal, now this is the diagonal, right? Now we have to find this value. So as we know by the Pythagoras theorem, if we are taking this as x, if this diagonal is x, this is the x, okay? If you are taking this as x, so how to find x? X square is equals to a square plus a square. This is what is Pythagoras theorem. Pythagoras theorem, what does it say is that diagonal square is equals to side square plus side square, that is height square plus base square. Okay, in this what we find is 2a square, x square is equals to 2a square. When we find the value of x, we will take square root, right? Square root on both the sides. So we will take square root of 2a. So the value of the diagonal is equals to what? Under root of 2a. So basically the three formulas from the square that we have to keep in mind. The very first thing is area of the square, perimeter of the square, and the diagonal of the square. Okay, this is what we have to keep in mind, the three formulas. Okay, now the next shape that we will be discussing is the rectangle shape. Okay, rectangle shape. Let me change the color of the pen. Okay, let us discuss about the rectangle now. Okay, sorry, let me correct it out properly. This is the rectangle. Okay, this is the rectangle. Now in rectangle, whenever we have to check the sides, in rectangle the thing that we have to keep in mind, that the opposite sides are equal. Okay, the opposite sides are equal, right? So in rectangle, the very first point that we have to keep in mind is opposite sides are equal. This is the first thing that we have to keep in mind. The second thing, now as I told you, the opposite sides are equal. So basically in case of area, what we will do is length into breadth. Okay, if we consider this as A, this side as B, so what will we take the area? Area is equals to, in this sense of the square, area is equals to AB, right? So this is how we take length into breadth. Okay, this is all about the area of the square. So rectangle. Now perimeter of the rectangle. Perimeter, as we know, two sides, that is opposite sides are equal. So in this, what will be taking it as A plus B. A plus B is the perimeter, as there are two sides, so we will be taking two equal sides, that is 2 into A plus B. So this is the perimeter of the rectangle. Simply we have to keep the formulas in the mind. Area is equals to length into breadth, perimeter is equals to A plus B. Okay, now when we talk about the perimeter, it means we are talking about the boundaries. Whenever we talk about the perimeter, it means we are talking about the boundaries that you keep in mind. And we know the boundaries over here, that is A is similar, and here also A, this both are similar, and this is B and this is B, both are similar, right? This B and this B, this A, this A. So basically we can take the perimeter as A plus B, as there are two A's and two B's, so we'll be taking 2A plus B. So this is the answer to the question, that is the perimeter of the rectangle. Now moving on to the second structure, that is a rhombus. Now in case of rhombus, all the sides are again equal. Okay, all the sides are equal over here, similarly to like that of the square. Okay, all sides are equal, all sides are equal. This is the very first point that we have to keep in mind. In case of rhombus, if we take the area, all sides are equal, right? Now whenever we take the area is equals to, before discussing the area, we'll discuss about the perimeter. Perimeter is directly similar to that of the square, right? All the four sides are equal, and in perimeter we'll be discussing about the boundaries, right? Whenever we talk about the perimeter, it means we are talking about the boundaries over here. So we will directly take 4 into A, that is 4A. But in case of diagonals, now in case of diagonals, in case of area, what we have to keep in mind is that the diagonals of the rhombus. Okay, this is the diagonal D1 and this is the diagonal D2, right? And the area of the rhombus is what? Half D1 into D2, that is diagonal D1 into diagonal D2. This is all about the rhombus. Area is equals to half D1 into D2 and perimeter is equals to 4A. This was all about the rhombus. Now when we discuss about the parallelogram, okay, in parallelogram we will find is, now for parallelogram, let us draw the structure first. We change the color of the pen. Okay, it's forming the rectangle. Actually, let us tilt some more downwards. Okay, now this is the parallelogram. In parallelogram, similar to that of the rectangle, opposite sides are only equal. Okay, opposite sides are equal. In this, whenever we are finding the parallelogram area and perimeter, what we have to keep in mind, both the sides, opposite sides are equal. Okay, this is the first thing. The very second thing that we have to keep in mind is about the area. Area is equals to base into height. Base into height. And when we talk about the perimeter, it means we are talking about 2 into A plus B. Now we are talking here about the height. So the height that has been taken is from this side. Okay, we can take like this, and this is the 90 degree. So this is the height. Okay, and whenever we'll talk about the area, we will be taking base, half of the base, that is A into height, right? Sorry, base into height. Area is equals to base into height. So nextly, whenever we're talking about the perimeter, in that case, what we are taking is similar to that of the rectangle, 2 into A plus B. This was all about the parallelogram. Okay, in this, what we find is, what is this basic thing that we are finding here is, in case of square, rectangle, and in case of parallelogram, what is the similarity and what are the differences? Let us find it out once. Let me draw a note over here to you, so that you will able to understand what is the exact difference. Okay, whenever we are talking about this square, okay, whenever we are talking about the rectangle, when we are talking about the, so this is all what we have discussed. Okay, let me just a second please. Okay, now look at here. This is square, this is rectangle, this is rhombus, and this is parallelogram. When we keenly observe in these diagrams, what we find out here is square and rhombus are having the same features, like they are the sum of the angles that is made on the two different parallel lines is equals to 180. This is one thing that you have to keep in mind now. Okay, what is it? Whenever we are talking about any two parallel lines, the sum of the angles made by any two parallel lines is equivalent to 180 degree. If we are considering this is at x and this as y, then it will be 180 is equals to x plus y. Okay, this is all about the thing that we have to keep here in mind. So for understanding this is not necessary actually. Let us discuss about what is the actual difference between the square and rhombus, rectangle and parallelogram. If we are seeing this diagrams like keenly, what we find here is square is having all sides equal, rhombus is also having all sides equal. Okay, when we find the rectangle ke opposite sides are equal, parallelograms also opposite sides are equal, right? What is the difference actually between the rectangle and parallelogram, between the square and rhombus? Then the thing that we have to keep here in mind is whenever we give a small tilt to the square, small tilt, small push, if this is a square, if we are giving this square a small push from this side, then it is forming a rhombus, and whenever rectangle is given a tilt or a push, then it is forming the parallelogram. So basically rectangle, parallelogram and square and rhombus are having the same type features, right? But the only difference is of the angle. What is the difference between the square and rhombus? There is only difference of the angle that is formed over here. What is there is only difference of the angle, because they are having just a difference of tilt. When we give a tilt to the square or push to the square, it is forming a rhombus, and whenever we are giving tilt to the rectangle or push to the rectangle, we are observing there a parallelogram, right? We are finding a parallelogram over there. So this is the feature, that is the square and rhombus are having only difference in angle. They are having only difference in angle. Similarly for rectangle and parallelogram also, they are having just the difference in angle, right? So also the thing we have to keep in mind is all the diagrams over here, that is square, rectangle, rhombus, they all are parallelogram only. Okay, if they are asking in examination directly, they have given a shape of square or shape of rectangle or rhombus, and they are asking are all these shapes parallelogram, then you have to answer the question as yes, they are the parallelogram. So the first thing that we have learned from this diagram is square, rhombus, rectangle and parallelogram, they have just a difference of the angle, and all the properties of the are the similar things over here. Okay, and the second thing that we have to keep in mind is either it may be square or a rectangle or a rhombus, all of these structure are nothing but they are a parallelogram. Okay, so second question that can arrive over here is a square a rectangle? Is a square an example of rectangle? Okay, this is the question that can arrive. So square is a shape that follows the property of the rectangle. Okay, so we can say the square is example of rectangle. Okay, the first thing that we have learned is either it may be square, either it may be a rectangle or rhombus. These all are what? These all are parallelogram. The first thing that we have to keep in mind. The second thing that we have to keep in mind is square is an example. It is an example of what? It is an example of rectangle. So we can call that a square is a rectangle. We can say that the square is an example of the rectangle. But if the question is asked vice versa, that is rectangle is an example of square, then the answer is wrong. Okay, because rectangle is not following the properties of square. So rectangle is not, it is not an example. It is not an example of square. So the things that we have learned here is square ho, rectangle ho, rhombus ho, or parallelogram, they all are similar. They are having just a difference of the angle in them. Square, rectangle and rhombus, all three of the structures are the parallelogram. Okay, they all are the parallelogram. At the same time, square is an example of rectangle, but rectangle is not an example of the square. So this was all the things that we have learned regarding the paper 1. Okay, now moving on to the questions what can be asked into the examination. Breadth of rectangle, now the question asked here is the length and the breadth of the rectangle are 10 meter and 5 meter respectively. We have to find the perimeter. I have given you the formula to finding the perimeter of the rectangle, that is the perimeter of rectangle, the perimeter of the rectangle is equals to 2 into length plus breadth. So यहाँ पे what will be the answer? 2 into 10 plus 5, it means this will be 2 into 10 plus 5 is equals to 15, that is 30 meter. So the perimeter of the rectangle with 10 meter and 5 meter as its length and breadth, the perimeter will be 30 meter. So this is the question that can be directly asked into the examination. Now the second question will be of the same type. Okay, you have to give me the answer. I will give you the question, that is, if the length of the rectangle is 25 meter, length of the rectangle is 25 meter and the breadth of the rectangle is, for example, 15 meter. So find and tell me the perimeter of a rectangle. Tell me the perimeter of rectangle. Answer this in the comment section. Now I have given you this question. Do answer it in the comment section and let me know what will be the answer. This is a very simple, similar to this first question. Okay. Now next question. The type of question that can be asked into the examination is. Now look at the question. Area of the rectangle is 120 square centimeter. Okay, and its length given over here is 12 centimeter. Now we have to find the breadth of the rectangle. Look, now as we know the area of rectangle, the formula for the area of rectangle is equals to L into B. L into B is the formula for the area of the rectangle. Now what is given over here is the area of the rectangle given here is 120 square centimeter is equals to length given is 12 centimeter and breadth is unknown to us, right? So what we have to find, x is equals to 120 upon 12, that is 10. So the breadth of the rectangle, is equals to 10 centimeter. This is the right answer to the question. This types of question can be asked regarding the rectangle, that is the directly finding the perimeter, finding the breadth or the length when the area of the rectangle is given, or finding the area of the rectangle. Such kind of questions directly from the formula can be asked regarding the rectangle. Okay, now this was all about the rectangle wale questions. Now moving on to the questions that we were discussing about different structures over here, right? We were discussing about the different structures. Now we have discussed the mensurations structures, different structures. What we were discussing about the mensuration. In mensuration we were discussing about the 2D and 3D structure, and in 2D we have discussed about the structures like, a minute please, triangle. We have seen about the triangle, circle and quadrilateral. Okay, in quadrilateral we have discussed about the square, rectangle, rhombus, parallelogram and trapezium. Okay, now what formulas have been left? Formulas I have given for you to you about the square, rectangle, rhombus and parallelogram. Now let us discuss what are the formulas for circle. Okay, for this formula for the trapezium we have not discussed it, right? We have discussed the formulas for the quadrilateral. In quadrilateral we have discussed the formula for square. We are done with the square. We have done with the rectangle. We have done with the rhombus. Okay, we'll discuss it, the questions again. And we have discussed about the parallelogram. Okay, and we have discussed about the trapezium. but we have not discussed the formulas of the trapezium. Let us discuss this. Let us discuss the formula for the circles, the formula for the triangles, different triangles. But these are the questions from which questions have never been asked for circle or triangle. So it is like the waste of time for discussing such formulas. But let us know what is the perimeter of circle. Okay, so these are the questions that we'll be discussing. At the same time, for 3D we'll discuss about the cube, we'll discuss about the cuboid, and about the cylinder. So this is something that we'll discuss in the part 2 of this chapter, that is mensuration, in tomorrow's lecture. Now in today's lecture, what we have discussed is, we have discussed about the structures in 2D, that is square, rectangle, rhombus, and parallelogram. Okay, this is all what we have discussed about. Now again, the questions for the square can be asked is, for example, find the area of the square when its side given is of 18 centimeter. For this question, we know what is the area of the square. We know the area of the square is equals to 4a. Simply 4a, it means 4 into 18. It is 72. So this is how we have to discuss the questions regarding the left out topics like cube, cuboid, cylinder. So this is something that have been asked randomly from the topics of quadrilateral, trapezium, cube, cuboid, and cylinder. Compulsory minimum 3 to 4 questions come in the paper number 2. And if we go for the paper number 1, minimum 2 questions have been asked for mensuration from square, rectangle, and cube and cuboid. Okay, so this will be the next topic that we will discuss in the next lecture. And that was all for the today's lecture. So this was the end, where we have discussed about the rhombus, we have discussed the properties of square, rectangle, parallelograms, that is different quadrilaterals. We have told that what is the difference between square, rhombus, rectangle, and parallelogram. Are all these structures, that is square, rectangle, rhombus, a parallelogram? Yes, they are. The parallelogram is the square an example of the rectangle. So yes, the square was the example of rectangle, but rectangle is not the example of the square. These are the stuff that we have discussed. Also, we have find the difference between the square and rhombus, and rectangle and parallelogram, that is there is a difference of just an angle in between them. Okay, this is all what we have discussed about in today's lecture about regarding the mensuration. In next topic, we'll discuss about the cube, cuboid, cylinder, including the quadrilateral and trapezium. Okay, so before ending the video, I'd like to tell you that please do like the channel, and please do subscribe the channel and like my video if you are interested again in enrolling the course. Just do contact us on this given WhatsApp number and download the global online app. Okay, so this is what the features you have to follow over here. These are the steps that you have to follow here for getting this following features for paper 1 and paper 2, and this is gonna be the one-stop solution for you if you have to prepare and get maximum score in examination and get guaranteed selection in the CTET 2022 examination. So for this, global online app is providing you the best opportunity, golden opportunity, in minimum amount of the fees. So thank you. This was the end of today's lecture. If you do like my video, so do subscribe the channel and hit the like button, and do comment in the comment section if you want any kind of suggestions regarding the videos or regarding the syllabus. So I wish you all the best for your preparation, and thank you for watching my video. Stay tuned for more such videos.